Hi, good morning, everyone. Well, we are so excited that you are joining us. First, we're going to do a few introductions just so you know who's on the stream and can get acquainted with us throughout the day or throughout the few minutes that we'll be together, not the day. But I just wanted to let you know that you can actually join this chat. This is interactive, so we want to hear from you. I'll kick it off. I'm Sarah Homan. I'm the Executive Director of Marketing at Advent Health, and I had the pleasure of serving on the Leadership Summit committee, co-chair with Andy, and that presented by Leadership Seminole. So an organization in Seminole County that really fosters leadership and develops leaders and informs us more about our county and community that we live in. So I'm going to toss it to Andy to introduce himself. He was my co-chair. So Andy, can you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Sarah. You bet. I've been watching a lot of the Olympics, and as the Olympics is coming to a close, we're seeing all these recap shows, right? And this is like our own recap show of what was a great, arguably one of the best leadership summits this year. So I'm excited that we've created this time. We've brought back two of our brilliant 10 out of 10 rated speakers to give some of their thoughts and a little bit of added value afterwards. So, Sarah, as you said, my name's Andy Searles. I'm a pastor in Seminole County. I'm on the Leadership Seminole board. I love speaking into the lives of leadership, and I loved sharing the summit and leading the summit with you. And honestly, though, I think we both know our job was made easier because we had such great guests this year. And so let's introduce the guests who are with us. First of all, we have two doctors. I feel like the dumbest person on this call, Sarah, and I probably am.
Definitely
I'm
not.
certainly the ugliest person on this call of all these beautiful ladies. But Dr. Keita Joy kicked us off on the morning of the summit and inspired us and did as your name said. You brought us some joy. So welcome, Dr. Joy.
Thank you. First of all, I'm just so honored to be on this live today. This is so much fun. It's my first time doing such a big group live. So I'm just so happy to be here. The event was amazing. I want to say it's the best, but I can't really say that because it was my first time attending the Leadership Seminole event, but it just blew my mind, not just from a speaker standpoint, but just the preparation, the attention to detail, and just the powerful connectivity that was shared. So I am Dr. Keita Joy, CEO of Success Uncensored Coaching, and I love to maximize the greatest potential of leaders, athletes, and influencers all over the nation. And I was so blessed and honored to be able to do that with all the leaders in Seminole County with the event.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Joy. I mean, you opening the day with Shake the Room, incredible. I loved it. Next, we have Dr. Chloe Carmichael. Dr. Chloe, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. And I just want to echo Dr. Keita's remarks that it was such a wonderful event. And thank you for including me. It was a wonderful opportunity for me to actually also see and be around so many leaders. And I also wanted to thank you for several things. Also, thank you for featuring my book, Nervous Energy, Harness the Power of Your Anxiety. That was really exciting. Dawn and I, worked together closely on that. Whoops. Sorry about that. I had something pop up on my screen there.
Chloe, Sarah had something pop up on her screen as well. Do you want to make that pop up happen again, Sarah?
Yeah, that's
I have the book here, and I also have Dr. Keita's book on the way, but I have your notepad from the time I heard you speak and my notes from that. So I am prepared. These things are surrounding me. I am a fan of you ladies.
I love it.
Well, thank you. And really, I sincerely appreciate that, and again, it was an amazing event. It was my first time too, like Dr. Keita's. But yet I felt like I learned so much from it. And I wanted to thank you also for this gift. What was so amazing is after speaking at this event and just enjoying the chance to do that, lo and behold, what do? But they actually went and gave us a gift. And I wanted to share it just with anybody else who might be watching, because I thought as a psychologist that it was such a clever gift. It is an hourglass. And so again, I think for leaders, time is so important. And moreover, it's a personalized hourglass. They got it from, I think, Personalization Mall. So it was such a clever gift. I wanted to thank you for that. And I got so many great connections out of the event. I'm new here in Orlando, and I met with several amazing people, and I'm looking forward I hope to meeting with the sheriff potentially to talk about some of the issues here, that the way that they're thinking about mental health and crime. So Pastor Andy and Sarah and Don and Sarah Russell, thank you for just putting together such an amazing event.
Yeah. I don't want to, I would be remiss if we didn't introduce Sarah and Don. They're on the call. So Don is the president of Leadership Seminole, this wonderful organization. I know I'm part of it for 10 years now. So I am passionate about it. I believe in it. And then Sarah Russell, it just keeps things moving. She really does. Like, she keeps us all together and keeps things flowing. So thank you, ladies, for on the call today. Dr. Kita, I wanted to hear a little bit more from you, if you don't mind, just your perspective of the event. I know you were able to stay for a lot of the speakers and hear some. So obviously your opening was such a favorite of the day, but I want to hear from you. What was your favorite part of the day? What did you get out of it?
Ooh, Sarah, I got a lot out of it. Actually, it made me think about, I saw your Facebook post. I think that was a few days ago. Were you singing? Were you out there being a superstar?
I was saying at NASCAR. Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow. But I brought that up because one of the great connections, Dr. Chloe, to what you were mentioning before, was being able to connect with Steve Phelps, the president of NASCAR. And so being in attendance and actually hearing their heart behind diversity and inclusion, it really blew me away, because as an African-American woman, I mean, I have family who lives in Daytona, and none of us ever talk about going to a NASCAR game, but we all love the sport, essentially, right? So there was like nothing that was really stopping us from going. We actually do like the sport, but I think just not feeling included. And so to hear all the amazing steps that they were taking, for the past couple of years to make it such an inclusive sport, and just how serious they were, just from an internal standpoint, not just community, but even internally making sure things were diverse and inclusive, was amazing. The other part of the event that I loved so much was just the innovation. Every single speaker had a heart of creativity and doing things outside of the box, because each speaker was so purpose driven. It wasn't about a check. It wasn't about, how much more money can I make? It was like, what kind of impact can I make? So just hearing John Rivers talk about his heart for the school system and helping young kids have, healthy food to eat, I was just blown away by the alignment of all the speakers. So even just hearing Dr. Chloe, that panel with yourself and the sheriff, I just got this same common sense of alignment, where every single speaker, even though it's a different profession, had a heart for people, a heart for change, a true heart to make a difference. And so that's what really impacted me. And you can tell that everyone in the audience really resonated with that. It's kind of like everyone really took those messages on and made it personal for themselves. So I loved it as a speaker, and then I was blown away just being in attendance and being inspired by all the other speakers as well. It was phenomenal.
That's really encouraging for us to hear, Dr. Kita and Dr. Chloe as well. When we set out to build the summit, I think our first goal is to help leaders lead better. And if we can give them some tools to their toolkit, then we feel like we've done our job. But in hearing you both speak, there's like a little added bonus this year as well. And that's in all the connections that are taking place. Dr. Chloe, I love that you've connected with the sheriff and some other people, because your influence in their lives will make their organization stronger in the same way that will be reciprocated as well. And Dr. Joy, the same with you. Leadership is not something we can or should do in isolation.
Correct.
We really need each other. And so it's not just great that we're teaching some good leadership stuff. I love hearing about all the connections as well.
I
Sarah,
would say, I'm sorry, Pastor Andy, I just wanted to add on that as well, that I love that you also included religious leaders, because, you brought in business leaders, you brought in medical and mental health leaders, you brought in social services leaders, but also, religious leaders. Those are, people who matter in our community. And so to have those conversations in literally round table settings, and I just want to say again, if anyone is watching this and they were at the event, Donna has chatted, and if you can do it again, Donna, if just to make sure it's fresh in the chat, if anybody wants to join in and share like what you gathered from the Leadership Seminole event. But I just had to add that in because, again, it was such a wonderful mix that you had there.
Well, we're all part of the same community, and the reality is it takes every sector of a community working together, leaning into each other to build a healthy community. One of my favorite sayings is a rising tide lifts all boats, right? And it felt like on that day, and you both were certainly a part of that, we poured lots of water into the day that just helped us all get better. Yeah. Sarah, what about you? What was you obviously had a different perspective on things. What was your highlight of the day?
Oh, me from behind the scenes?
Yes.
I was in the back helping run AV most of the day. But I think something Sarah Holman alluded to at the beginning, this year, the speakers were so aligned in their theme. So it was, we did talk to all the speakers before the event that were focused on creativity and innovation, but it was amazing how well it came together that day, that each presentation throughout the day kept filling out that theme more and more and in a different way. And I think to Dr. Chloe's point, something we try to always highlight as Leadership Seminole is that we bring together the public, the private, and the nonprofit sector, right? Because we want to improve the quality of life in Seminole County by bringing together leaders from all industries. So it was great to have all those leaders sitting at the tables, but also leaders from all of those industries speaking this time too. We had such a great diversity of speakers and attendees.
And it was awesome, just to agree also with Dr. Kita, to meet Steve Phelps. And I got a picture of him with my book as well. And I will definitely be sharing that on social media as well. So that was pretty awesome. Sarah, you must have a relationship there. Did I hear you were singing? Is that what Dr. Kita said? You were singing at NASCAR?
I did. So Eric Nyquist, the gentleman who spoke with Steve, my husband and him coach football together, and my husband coaches one of his sons, and so he had heard me sing and brought me out there. And I will say, he is one of the most genuine people on the earth. When he talks about diversity and inclusion, he means it from the bottom of his heart. I don't think that he would mind if I share this, but just a testimony to his character. His youngest son is actually an African-American child that they adopted. And he saw a need, and he was able to, that their family had the means to do it. So when I say it comes from his heart, he has a passion for it. And that's why I think it came out so strongly that in his presentation, he is just a champion for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just a genuine guy. So yeah, he was able to kind of get me in there for the opportunity. So that was exciting. But
it was amazing. And I spoke with him, and that's how genuine, to your point, that he is. I had a Zoom call with Steve last week because yes, I'm very intentional with my connections. And so we had like almost an hour-long conversation. And I want to say half of it, you guys, was just him having empathy and us really genuinely talking about the community and his heart for how we can make a difference and a change. And he was even so open to hearing my experiences and what my family has gone through. And so it was just a really beautiful time. And then we just his heart, where it didn't just end with feelings. Because, it can just end with, oh, I feel bad, or I feel like this. He is so focused on action. What are some actionable steps that we can take forward? And I feel like that's all of us. Like that's what a true leader is. We see a problem and then we think about what's the best solution for that problem and let's take the necessary steps forward. So that's
And
him,
that,
all of us here. Yeah.
yes, and that reminds me, and I feel like it ties in perfect something that Dr. Chloe said and talks about in her book, the nervous energy and the anxiety. I think we all feel that at some time as leaders. Like, we care about our team, our business, and that anxiety is kind of like triggering a preparation mechanism, so you can harness that. So that is something that has stuck with me. So yes, I'm sure the guys at NASCAR maybe felt some anxiety over, changing in such a bold decision, but that triggered that response mechanism. So Dr. Chloe, I would love for you to like talk a little bit more about that, because that's such a cool concept that I've never heard before. Could you just maybe tell us how you came to that conclusion, or, to put that in your book?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for mentioning that part, because that is the central message of my book, Nervous Energy, Harness the Power of Your Anxiety, which, as I'm always telling people, was endorsed by Deepak Chopra. I still can't get over that personally. And to me, it meant a lot to have his endorsement, to answer your question, Sarah, because I was a yoga teacher before I was a psychologist. And in yoga, we always think about what's called the point of pleasant tension, which is where we want to be engaged in our exercises enough that we're feeling, something, but we don't want it to become painful. And so we're always looking at what are some of the healthy functions of this, quote, stress. And so when I became a clinical psychologist, working in New York City, specializing with, people that are just very, very high functioning, which partly what I want people to know is that they are more high functioning than they realize usually. But anyway, I digress. So the point about it being that there is a healthy function to anxiety, because a lot of leaders do want to recognize now that we have an anxiety epidemic or a mental health crisis. And some of that is true, but I think some of it is people not understanding that anxiety isn't always about disorder. It can also be a healthy stimulation to take action, to Dr. Kita's point of what Steve Phelps did so well, that when something, isn't right, or there's been an injustice, or there's a preparation that needs to be made, or something that we need to do, the anxiety is giving us a healthy tickle to make sure we get it done, and then it's serving its healthy function. Not that I'm saying anxiety is always healthy. Of course, as a clinical psychologist, I know that it's not always that way, but I've actually seen that people can get more prone to mental health true problems if they don't know how to work with anxiety in its healthy level.
Yes.
I feel like
Dr. Chloe, I was going to say something real quick. I'm sorry, Sarah. You made me think about something, Dr. Chloe. It's not a clinical term, but I think you're going to enjoy it. So my 8-year-old daughter has a name for that nervous reaction, and she calls it nervous-sided. So
nervous what?
Nervous-sided. So she puts nervous and the word excited together.
Nervous-sided. Beautiful. Yes, nervous energy. That is exactly the idea.
Exactly what you were talking about. That's what that is, because it's not always a bad thing. It's an indication that you're doing something new, that there's a challenge, or, so it's always, it's not always a negative situation. So I love that.
I love that so much. I feel like you two ladies just pair perfectly together. Like, nervous energy, like understand what's going on, and then take Dr. Joy's like mantra and like do it real, do it well and do it consistently. Like that's kind of like part 2 of, like just being the version of you. So like I said before, I'm a fan of you ladies. Dr. Joy, did you want to say any kind of closing comments?
Well, yeah, sure. I love how you said that success formula. So literally, I had my business for about 7 years, and probably the last 3 or 4 years, I was sitting around in my family room, just kind of recounting how did I get to this point with no capital, building this business from scratch. Like, what was the mindset? Not just the business acumen. What was the type of mindset that I had to have to actually grow and see my business flourish? flourish. And so I write my prayers out and also my thoughts. And so I'm in my journal and I'm like, what did I do? Do you? I stuck to my purpose. I stuck to my skills and my talents. I stayed in my lane. I didn't focus on comparing myself to someone else. I had a real deep sense of what I was called to do, and I stayed committed to it. And then I was like, wait, I did it well. You have to do everything in excellence. And for me, excellence also correlates with faith. Like when you really believe in something, you want to put your best foot forward. You don't want to half do something that you believe in. So you have to show up in excellence, doing it well, and then doing it consistently. To see anything happen, you have to keep going like NASCAR to the finish line. And so when I put it all together, I was like, wow, whether it's in your marriage, whether you're an employee, a CEO, a stay-at-home mom, whatever your calling is, you have to do you. You got to do it well, and you have to do it consistently. And that's how you see success. And, it was such an honor to be a part of the Leadership Seminole event and be able to impart that wisdom to everyone so they can go back to their respective places and keep doing it well, and doing it consistently. And then having the right type of nervous energy and channeling that to see that success. So it was brilliant day. I loved it.
It was. Ladies, Sarah and I didn't get an egg timer, but if we did, it would be dropping out the last grain of sand because our time is up. I do want to thank you again for your presence and your wisdom and your inspiration at the summit, but also for putting together this little conversation today. Dr. Chloe, you didn't just write and talk about nervous energy. You allowed Sarah and I to experience it too. In time together. We have been nervous-sided. That does sound like a medical condition, doesn't it? Nervous-sided. I got nervous-sidement or something. But ladies, thank you so much for your time today. Friends who are watching, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. You'll see that Dr. Chloe has put some links up there. I'd really encourage you to go there and follow them. Thanks to Leadership Seminole for bringing us all together. And thanks for watching and joining with us.
Thank you again. Thank you so much for organizing and for having us. So I'm going to click a button that says end stream. So the stream will end in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.